All right. Hey guys, welcome to the Comics Hall. I'm Amy.
I'm Paul.
And we are joined today by two special guests. We've got Jeff May and Jennifer Muro.
Ooh.
Hi guys.
Oh,
hello.
We are live on the interwebs with Sideshow. We are broadcasting to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, I believe. So if you guys are tuning in, it is another Wednesday without brand new comic books, but that doesn't mean we don't have comic book news and awesome things to discuss. So, Paul, do you wanna kind of get some of the comic book news going, or?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we have I think the comic book news has kind of been stagnant for a little bit, but I mean the big I would say the real big news is that comics are slowly starting to come back. I know DC had put out a few last week as well, I believe, and they also put some books out on Tuesday. So yesterday, I know I picked up Flash 757. That's a book that's out right now, and I think we're very slowly starting to see comics kind of come back to normal. I know we have a lot of publishers, especially DC again, Marvel following suit very closely. They have released a schedule as far as what we can expect as far as distribution coming up. I know there's a lot of books that we're both really, really excited for that were pushed back, but now they are slowly coming out. I know
the solicitation schedules are slightly revised, so you might not be seeing the same wealth of comics every Wednesday, but we're getting closer to Diamond picking up again, as well as alternate distributors depending on the routes that they are taking. And books are aiming to get back in circulation around May 20th. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, one of the releases that I'm super excited about, and I hope hasn't really changed up in its solicitation, is actually a book that Jen is working on or has worked on. I'm sure it's close to the presses, but Primer from DC Comics.
Yes, and it's still on schedule. So everything opened up just in time. It'll be June 23rd. So, and it's a co-creation between me and Tom Krajewski, and we finally created something, and the apocalypse happened. So, like it happens, like you do. So that kind of stunk, but it's still going to be on time. I hope people get to have time to. I mean, people have a lot more time, so maybe it'd be, they'll be able to have the time to read it. It's just that going to comic book stores and that stuff that's the bummer. We were going to do a lot of touring, a lot of the conventions. We're supposed to do stuff at, Comic-Con. And so that's a bummer this year, unfortunately.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that we can't celebrate the release, and it is available for pre-order now. If people are able to pre-order, I don't know what the situation is pre-ordering through their local comic stores currently, depending on the shutdown situation, but I know it is available on booksellers online.
It is booksellers online. And here is the
look at it. Oh, it looks so good.
Fabulous. Yeah. And I wish I could show you the inside, but those are Secret Squirrel stuff.
But there are preview pages, I believe, unlettered, available on DC Comics' website.
Yes,
that's correct. Yeah.
So if you are interested, you can go check that out. Actually, do you want to explain a little bit to our audience about the character or what they can expect from that story?
Yeah. Primer. Her name is Ashley Rayburn, and she's a foster kid who kind of gets caught in this situation with her new foster parents, and stumbles on some awesome paints that each paint has a different power, which is really cool. So it's, and you can combo things, and so lots of different combos can cause lots of different fun abilities. And so hopefully, it hasn't been done before, and she's very sarcastic and funny, and a fun young preteen, just about going into, about to go into high school. So people seem to be responding really well to it. Parents are responding really well to it. Adults are responding really well to it, not just kids. And that's thrilling, because I would like, we wrote it as everyone would read it. It's not aimed towards a young, it is what it is, and everyone can enjoy it. And we wanted to make sure kids loved it and adults love it.
I'd want to say some of the best comics I've ever read are teenage protagonists. You know, when you look at books like Runaways, Teen Titans, Invincible, things like that, and you know, just because it's written with a teen protagonist does not mean it's limited to teens. And looking at these preview pages, man, it looks sharp.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Mine?
Yeah, your book. Yes. Back to you, Jen.
Right.
Yeah, you and shout out to Tom as well. I'm really excited to see what y'all have thrown together on this one. I'm legitimately excited after I saw the preview pages and the gist of what it's about. I love that.
Yeah, no, Tom did an amazing job, and he's super talented and super funny, and so much of his humor is in here, and I'm so glad he finally gets to shine, because he's been an animation writers Emmy nominated, and he's been doing this forever, and this is the first time we kind of like have a physical thing, because we're TV writers. It's nice to have like a physical book to say, look, this is a real creation in our hands.
Is this your first time working in comics, or?
Yes. Yeah, it is for both of us. Yeah.
But you've written superheroes before.
Oh my God. Yeah, of course, for decades. But, well, at least a decade and a half. So yeah, so that's not new, but the medium is.
That's exciting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is. Really is.
And I know, because we have a whole lot of show to get to, and we have a lot of questions. I know, especially all us three here, specifically being really huge comic book nerds. We have questions, I think, maybe on the introduction of this character in general. But before we do that, really quick up top, guys, we do have a giveaway for the 6-scale C-3PO by a little company called Sideshow Collectibles. And what we're going to do is we will drop a secret word later on in the day that will get you 1,000 entries into this, and then later towards the end of the show I'll drop the link that you can follow and input that secret word and get you all kinds of entries in order to win this. But just wanted to get that off so everyone knows kind of what to expect. But yes, can we please talk Primer?
That 3PO is the first Sideshow piece I've ever gotten.
Really?
Aw.
Yeah.
That you purchased, or
it was I
Stole?
received it as a gift. Yeah, I stole it from Sideshow when we went on our tour, and they rewarded me with a job. I don't know how it happened, but that just
they
teaches
like
you
your
all what to
chutzpah,
do.
like your gumption.
It's like
living the dream.
like hiring a thief to be your security. You know, like he knows the tricks. Keep him around.
They know a thing or two.
Right.
I think one question that I have specifically, I think right up top about Primer is this is the first time the Jen has been on the show, and maybe doesn't know, but Amy is usually more of like the Marvel side of things. I'm much more on the DC side. And I love DC, and I love, especially in comics in general, when people take a risk and just introduce new characters, because I think it's something that is not done enough. And it takes an immeasurable amount of like confidence and just like silver from you gumption to to be able to do it. And so I mean, you have done you've written for Justice League and of course for Star Wars. When it comes to writing a new character that's yours,
Yeah.
how does your brain approach writing something like Star Wars versus Primer, where you kind of have the run of the mill there?
Right. I mean, one is you have to be careful with an IP, and the other one is it's your own IP that you're creating. Although, then DC now, owns it. But we had such support, and Michelle Wells, who is the head of doing this project, she loved it, and she was like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. It's awesome. And they just felt it fit really well. And I didn't have to worry about, the biggest thing is worrying about canon. I didn't have to worry about it because it's all brand new, which is great. Big difference.
I have a question. Are there plans to mix Primer in with other DC characters in the future?
That would be fantastic. No, there is none that I know of, but that would be amazing. I know Tom desperately wants her to meet the Teen Titans.
Oh, yes.
Really fun. And it's funny because the ALA, they, teachers and people got the galley sample, the galley copy, and they were like, oh, we'd love to see her with Teen Titans. So like people are already feeling that out there. So that would be great. But no, there is no plans. But I like the way you think.
Oh yeah, I was I was thinking about it before the show, and I was like, yes, Teen Titans, that would be perfect. I
Yeah,
would love to see that.
yes, absolutely. And it's set in its its own place. So it's like it's a whole new bag. I'm looking forward to it. I can't believe it's going to be, I think, in 8 weeks or 7 weeks or 6-7 weeks.
Yeah,
So
pretty soon.
it's going to come fast. It's going to come fast.
Yeah,
Very
I mean, I think I mean I think it's an instant buy, obviously, of course, for everyone here on the show. But I think I can't stress enough like how great it is to see like new characters, especially when you have, how do I explain this? So my favorite part is that when you have this new character, it kind of allows you to open up your own door into this established
Yeah.
bit of lore, and kind of allows you to approach it from a different lens. And I think and again, this was just me nerding out and saying it's awesome, and thank you for doing that.
No, that's it's. I'm so lucky they let us play in this world, and Gretel Lutzke, the artist, did an amazing job, and her artwork brought this really to life. And it's the combo, I think, a combo of the concept, the story, and the look. I think just is a magical combo that doesn't always happen, and it worked out. So it's so stunning. So I'm looking forward to actually people getting to look at the center of the book, because there's some really great stuff in there, and there's such emotion in the eyes, and like it's so pretty. It's so freaking pretty. I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Well, and it's also really cool that based on my understanding of what her powers are and the kind of the crux of it, the color, more so than in another book, plays a part in the story. It seems like that's actually going to be like, so that's because Paul and I, since starting this show, we've kind of also tried to bring in some more of that like comic book literacy in like how you read, not just skimming over, not just recognizing the writer, like what parts go into this book to make it work, and can one aspect of it totally fall short if another one's not. So I think that's really exciting, and that'll be a cool opportunity for people to engage with the color of a book as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The combo is really, I think, going to make a difference in people noticing this. I mean, even at the shows that people have seen it, they are like, what is that? They want to know about it, which is, really, really helpful. And once they get to know her, I think they're gonna fall in love with her. She's really funny, and she's an interesting backstory and a history that we slowly learn. And she's got different colors of different powers. I mean, and it's awesome and endless. And she's discovering all this stuff, and there's a lot of fun in there, and a lot of nice other characters that surround her. So I hope people latch on to all different aspects of this book.
Now we do have a question over on YouTube. JJ Joe wants to know, first of all, how long did you work to get Primer to reality? And secondly, is Primer a series or a one-shot?
I think it was about you mean from pitching to galley copy, or you mean just like them saying yes? I don't know.
Specify, so
yeah. Okay, so there you go.
Dealer's choice.
Exactly. So yeah, it went quicker than other development has gone in television, I have to say. I mean, other development takes a long, long time. This was a bit of a quicker situation. So I mean, I think it was 18 summer of 18.
Oh wow.
And here we are, so it's been very pleasurable for me. It was nice to really, move along on this stuff. So very, very grateful for that.
It sounds pretty to shift. I'm sorry, Paul.
No, please.
To shift from TV, that it seems like things move a lot more slowly because the investment is really high. That to have the sort of the freedom of the medium of comics, and also a lack of sort of budgetary limitations. Granted, poor Gretel, if you wrote, and then she meets 1,000 soldiers, and Gretel.
Right.
But
yeah.
there is sort of
didn't
that.
destroy her too much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm assuming she's happy with the product as well.
Oh no, she loved it. I mean, I heard that she saw what this was and wanted to do this project. It really meant a lot to her. So, we were testing artists at the time, but she was like, I want to do this. And then we saw her, her take, and, we loved her, and the rest is history. So I'm glad she stepped up, and it spoke to her. I'm so glad it spoke to her. So yeah, good stuff. It's really, really pretty.
I really like your excitement about it.
Yeah. I mean, my God. And so, well, the other question is there going to be another? I hope there'd be a series. It'd be great. Right now, it's just a single graphic novel, but hopefully, if it does well and people want it, that would be fun. I'm up for that. I'm up for a second one if DC wants us to do it.
Same.
That's your challenge, Comics Hall audience. You guys have to pre-order this book, because that's what we've been telling you guys is pre-ordering the books. Lets the publishers know what you want to see.
Big difference, yes. That'll decide it. I'm sure.
I mean,
go buy things. What?
Sales. That's it. Sales.
If you ever want Primer to meet the Teen Titans.
Yes, buy this one. Buy this one. Yes. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. I was my question about when, because you've done so much like incredible TV, the differences are obviously there, but are you finding that in writing comics versus TV that maybe you have more liberties with these ideas, that you are like very staunch and like, I want to make this happen, versus maybe in some bigger properties, if you're doing like Forces of Destiny, you're like, okay, I have to concede this idea.
100%. Absolutely. Because it's not your creation. I mean, you're adding to the creation, but it's absolutely, what a difference. And DC has been so collaborative, and they treat us like the creators we are, which is great. And they give notes, and some of their notes are like, oh yeah, that's a good point. I mean, so there's nothing unrealistic. There's nothing stupid. They're great to work. We have an amazing editor. They're just not dumb notes, and they're not dumb suggestions. Like, they really know what they're doing. Editor Jim is amazing.
Stupid.
Yeah, I mean, hey, this ups and downs of all different kinds of things. Of takes on stuff, and it was just a really nice collaborative process, which was great.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there are so many I couldn't even imagine some of the give and take with some of the things that you've done. I mean, we can of course we'll probably circle back to Primer, because this is a comic book show and we just can't help ourselves.
Sure.
But with something like Forces of Destiny, like that has so many, maybe not only more eyes on it, but from the creation side, but also on the audience side possibly. But it's a different set, I would imagine, of creative guidelines that you have to play within. I mean,
yes, absolutely. And by the way, Lucasfilm was very collaborative and listened to ideas and what kind of stories we wanted to tell. And of course, we check on certain things, make sure there's continuity. We call up people, hey, we're going to make sure. So it's absolutely different, but they also were very collaborative as well. But of course, like you said, there's a bajillion eyeballs on it. So you want to make sure everything tracks, and I'm also the queen of like tracking. Like I'm all about everything making sense. Cause like, I'm one of those people who watch a movie or show, and I'm not great with plot holes. I'm not great with things that make sense. So I'm by nature that way anyway. So that worked out. So, and they are too. So that's good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It's good to have in a collaborator, is that sort of the same level of being, I don't want to say uptight, but like being on it, And
careful. Yeah.
Oh, careful's a very better way of saying it than I did. I learned that word when I was very young, and still just I blew it.
It's the apocalypse. It just goes right out of your head. It's fine.
Yeah.
I've become so dumb since the apocalypse hit. Oh man, I'm the dumbest boy in the world.
It happens. You just need more water. You'll be fine.
Oh, I have like a whole big thing of it.
There you go. See?
No brains in here.
Right. Gotta get back into your body.
Tried.
So there you go.
Now, speaking of Star Wars, did you have a nice May the 4th?
Yes, yeah. It was, my friends over at Scum and Villainy did the 24-hour marathon. I think Sideshow was on that as well. I think you got
Yes, we were.
but Sideshow itself. And yeah, it was nice to. I did two things. I did a watch along for New Hope, and it was nice to see Todd Stashwick again, who's amazing and a friend
Love
of.
Todd Stashwick, former guest of the show of Sideshow.
That's right.
Oh.
And it was so nice to like see him. And he ran a one shot, like maybe, I don't know, 10 months ago or something like that for me with a group. So of Dungeons and Dragons. And it just haven't seen him in a while. It's like, yay, a human I know. And then that went well. And then we talked prequels on the next show with, it was nice to see Kyle Newman again, who I haven't seen in a while, director of Fanboys. And
Ahmed Best was on that, I believe.
Ahmed Best was Jar Jar Banks. Yeah, he was on it. And he's so
awesome.
funny, and he's such a doll, and he's so hip and cool, and like he just goes on talking. And I love to hear the stories because they're not boring. It's really interesting. So it was nice. And Sam Witwer, who I love, and we met back in 2017 for Forces of Destiny when it was announced at Star Wars Celebration. So it was nice to see friends again.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was like former guest of Sideshow, Sam Witwer.
That's right. You knew him separately from me, which is, like we both happen to have mutual friends. So it's cool.
Yeah. That was Sam was a friend I inherited when I moved to LA because he was a friend of a friend.
That's a good inheritance.
You're going to have to get like matching alumni jackets for all these people who are now, guests of Sideshow.
Yes.
And Comics Hall now.
Oh, whoops. I accidentally dropped this name right here. Hold on.
We'll buy little patches. Put on jacket. Great.
Oh, geez.
Official Sideshow pin. You have to get it and be like former guest. It's very exclusive.
Yes.
It's like Club 33. Yeah.
Club 26 because there's only 26 a year.
Wow, you're a deep cutting nerd.
He's put some serious thought into this.
Yeah, you did.
I got a lot of free time and not a lot of brains, so all that thought is serious.
Keep drinking the water. It's at the bottom.
Oh, geez. So Jen, if you don't mind, I think we had a question that kind of had jogged my memory about something that I really wanted to ask you. So when you, if again, I promise you, we were going back to Primer.
That's fine.
I
like to talk.
With Primers, again, since you and I did my research and I looked, and this is your first comic book that you had done. So when you're writing something like Primer and you predominantly write for TV, what books or comics or any media did you consume to kind of get like the tone of your writing to translate into comics? If that question makes sense.
I think the humor, I think the dialogue and the humor is very similar to what we would write for television. So that helped. I think it was more learning the formatting and like how the pages work and how you physically write it. I think it was just like, that was a learning curve of how that works. It's like someone never writing a script before and doing final draft and understanding how that format is. That was actually the biggest challenge. But in terms of sense of humor, I think it was actually quite similar, and just clarifying action. It was just almost like more of a different format. And in terms of like digesting material, I mean, Tom and I have both been doing that since we were teenagers. So, I was X-Men, 90s, early 90s X-Men, which was my jam. And Scott Campbell was huge at the time. He had just come on the scene back in the early 90s, and I loved all his books. And a lot of Image books, and Batman was also a huge thing for me. So
who?
Oh yeah, he's got pointy ears. He's really good in black. Yeah.
We should do a piece of him.
He's Robin's friend.
Yes.
Oh, why didn't you say that first?
I know. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I was I'd gone back, and I'm gonna drop a link because it's a fantastic interview with Jeff and Jen on Sideshow. I don't know if we've mentioned it today, but it's a great show. And during that, I thought it was really interesting, Jen, that you had brought up that you had kind of that you were like, it's embarrassing how many movies I haven't seen and like how many shows and stuff because you're so busy. So
Right.
now with because we had a question about like what, we always like to ask like, what are you watching? What media are you consuming now? Has, the apocalypse kind of helped you kind of dial in and like start shows, and are you watching anything more now that you have the time, if you even have time?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm trying to actually have time for even more like learning things. Like I'm really doing a lot of gardening right now, and I'm just
Cool.
consuming a lot of that. I love documentaries. Sometimes I like to get away from the fantasy, and documentaries really like focus me and is calming, and it's sort of an escape in a very different way. But I have been able to binge some shows that I've been waiting to do, like The Crown. I finally got to do, which is kind of a long thing. I started Mrs. America on FX, which is fantastic. Mrs. America, and that's Kate Blanchett. I think it's Kate Blanchett, right?
Yeah, it's Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
And I had finished Fleabag before all this started, so that was fantastic. And of course, I watched all of, Picard and Discovery. I got to finally, because I had subscribed to CBS a while ago, and I finally got to catch up. Although that was early, that was in February too already. That was way earlier. But still,
it's time.
I got to do these things, which is
that was pre-apocalypse.
Pre-apocalypse, or just. I was a prepper a little ahead of time. Like I already had started prepping at the end of February because I knew this was coming. So I'm one of those people. So
you binged ahead like a proper prepper.
Right. So those are the ones off the top of my head. I know I'm forgetting something, but The Crown was an investment.
Tiger King, right?
I have not seen Tiger King, and I don't plan on it. I don't know what excitement is, but I'm just going to let the universe, just bring it out.
It's a fascinating show where you're not supposed to like anybody in it.
Okay. So it's like going home for Christmas.
Yeah, it depends on where you live, but if it's
Got it. Yeah. So what do you guys, by the way, I'm missing like stuff out there right now, all right, to binge.
I mean, there's I wasn't prepared for Jennifer to ask me what I'm watching.
Well, I'm curious.
Flipped on you.
No, I mean, like I watch, like at the end of the day, like when I turn my brain off, like me and my girlfriend watch a lot of like cooking shows and stuff, just because it's like, it's informative and also, in television. So we'll watch Iron Chef or Chopped or something.
Okay, great. Yes.
Yeah. But I think the actual, one of the most like serious shows that I actually like paid attention to watch was Devs on FX with Nick Offerman.
Oh,
that show's incredible. It's like, I mean, it's a whole thing, but it's by Alex Garland. And I think as far as I'm aware, it's his first television series, but from he's done Ex Machina and Annihilation. I always forget that it's Annihilation is what it's called. Yes. But that's a great show. Anyone out there, if you've seen it, or let us know, or if not, but I think that's a really good
There's a
show
lot
to watch
right now that are good shows. And Hollywood, I just started Hollywood on Netflix, which is I love period pieces a lot. So that's something I just started, and I got to finish Watchmen, which I didn't get a chance to yet. And that's amazing. And of course, you could tell right away how amazing it is. So I'm looking forward to finishing that.
I just ran through Upload on.
I started Upload. I watched the what'd you feel?
It was very good. It's really good. You're not expecting it to go the way it goes, which I think is a sign of any TV show.
Great.
Where you're expecting something. You're kind of expecting oh, this is kind of like The Good Place, and then it absolutely is not. Because it's an afterlife kind of comedy show, but then in reality it's much more intense.
I started it, so that's good to know.
Yeah, and then there's a great the Last Dance documentary, the one about the '98 Chicago Bulls.
Oh yeah, that's
like, it's funny when you branch outside of like sci-fi, because like generally everyone's expecting you to be like, so what, you watch just Clone Wars and Devs and all these things that are very sci-fi and very good, and then it's like, yeah, but there's a documentary about the basketball team that I like kind of a lot.
I wonder if it's because it is we're in this like pandemic cutoff. It's almost nice to see real things, to connect with real. Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm watching so many documentaries. I mean, I always have anyway, but it's kind of be like, oh, other humans doing real things, not like in space.
I just watched I sometimes find interest in things that I like, learning about things that I don't necessarily am invested in. Like I really like wrestling documentaries, even though I'm not a huge wrestling fan. I'm not an NBA fan, and I love the Jordan documentary. And I'm not a huge fan of horror, and I just watched a 5-part docuseries called Cursed Films on Shudder, and it covers 5 films of the horror oeuvre. So it's like The Exorcist, The Omen, Poltergeist, just a bunch of Twilight Zone movies that are said to have carried like a curse with them, and they sort of talk about what happened, and they show them, and they're short, they're like half an hour, and they're really good. And I'm not even a huge horror fan, but I'm just wrapped up in them.
I love that you couldn't remember careful, but you remember oeuvre.
And this is the second time in a row, like I think 2 weeks now of this show, you've said the word oeuvre.
I learned it 2 weeks ago, and I have to use it.
Oh, okay.
Or else you'll forget it. Yeah, I get you.
I got oeuvre went in and careful went out. So
right. Okay. Oh, so one, yeah, it's the balance of the force.
I want to see Cobra Kai still. Still haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so great. It's so fun. I'm a huge fan.
See, I have been taking the opportunity to catch up on a couple of things that I've never watched before that I've been shamed for not watching. So I am currently slamming through Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I've never seen it. I know.
What do you think? What do you think?
I mean, I know it's dated, but I love it so much. I just finished the second season where it kind of solidifies into like, this is the show you're going to be watching.
Yes, absolutely.
And like, I adore it. Like it's fun. And I'm like, okay, I should have watched this sooner, but like, I just,
oh God, the best is coming. You're only out in season 2. Wait till you get to season 3. It's amazing. You're like, oh, I'm so jealous. Because like that first time, you're just going to be, oh my God, it's going to occupy your life. And the more you go, the more it's going to get that
way. And it's one of those things where shockingly enough, like, I have not heard a lot about it. And I don't know if it's the people in my social circles didn't talk about the spoilers or everyone just assumed everybody has seen it.
Right.
So I'm having a blast with that, but I'm also waiting now for, cause I'm doing a lot of animated stuff. So I'm digging the Harley Quinn series.
Oh my God, which is a great show.
Incredible.
So good. Yeah. And then I'm waiting for the last season of She-Ra on Netflix cause I've been loving
Oh, that's fantastic. So yeah, my friend Mary Elizabeth McGlynn voice directs that. And she's, of course, from Star Wars Rebels. And my friend Charlie Adler directs and is in Harley Quinn. So.
Oh wow!
Oh,
yeah, no,
awesome.
I've been loving those ones so much.
Yeah,
Harley,
did a great job.
Harley Quinn's a perfect show. It's one of those shows where, like, because I do a show like a comedy podcast about Batman, and people are like, "Oh, I can't wait till you do Harley Quinn." I'm like, "We're not going to do that. I can't make that funny." Like it's already fun. Like doing a comedy podcast about a hilarious show, you're not going to get a good podcast. It's too good.
It really is great. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah, Harley Quinn and Watchmen were 2 of my last year, like my surprise favorite shows. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't need either of these, and then I watched them. Like, no, I needed them.
Yeah.
It's hands down my favorite depiction of Poison Ivy, who's like my favorite character. Yeah. So like, it's just so good.
I'm so glad people are seeing. I think it's going to be on Sci-Fi now.
Really?
Yeah, I saw some news that they're doing the first season.
Yeah. So I'm glad people will be able to get to see it because it will do well. I hope it does well if people find it because it is unexpected.
It should be seen, and I know I think the DC app is actually, like of all the apps, I'm very happy that it's a good deal. Mm-hmm. For what they have, and it's definitely worth seeing in the R-rated format too, because I'm sure Sci-Fi will probably have it edited.
Right, that's true.
It is just so good.
When I get the YouTube advertisements for it that have all the swears censored out, I'm like, no, like I want to see the swears. Give me the profanity.
I promise my parents gave me permission. Just And just real quick, great segue. Speaking of secret word, it's a terrible segue. I just didn't know how else to get it out. Guys, I did drop the secret word, which is space travel, all one word, all capitalized in multiple chats.
It's 2 words technically, but for our purposes,
it's one word. Can you tell Amy's a writer? And I am whatever the opposite of that is. But yeah, secret word, guys, for 1,000 extra entries is space travel. Again, all capitalized, all squished together. It's one word. And the link as to where you can enter that will come later on in the show.
And you are seeing it on the screen, or we're seeing it. That is for the C3PO 6-scale figure by Sideshow.
Yes,
In honor
thank you.
of, I personally prefer Revenge of the 6th as the date. I know a lot of people go immediately to Revenge of the 5th, but like, so we kind of get 3 days for May the 4th, Revenge of the 5th, Revenge of the 6th.
I mean, I feel like as far as Sideshow is concerned, we're not just going to be like, all right, no more Star Wars after today.
Yeah, that's it. We've had it.
Oh, geez. Yeah,
Got some cool stuff
exactly.
coming.
It's like, by the way, look at all this cool Star Wars stuff we have.
Dude,
365 days of the week.
I got to take a look at the Hot Toys, the Boba Fett
Oh
classic.
my gosh, that was gorgeous.
Oh, the red blaster pack.
It looks
Oh,
great.
jeez. Looks awesome. Yeah, that was a great segment there. But yeah, I mean, we had a good question kind of roll in earlier, but I think it kind of had reminded me if you could, would you want to see Primer on like the Harley Quinn show?
Oh my God, yeah.
Like do you think that would, like, the character as she stands now could work well in that universe?
I think now it'd be tough. But like if
Yeah.
Primer lives on in the DC universe and people end up loving this character and there's longevity to it, kind of like Harley herself. I mean, she started on Batman in the animated series. There's could be so many different incarnations of this character in the future. Her personality and who she is could absolutely fit depending on the incarnation. As she is now, no, she's too young. She's only 13, and that'd be way too raunchy, I would think. But you never know. You never know. So in whatever other incarnations, hopefully we'll see someday, which could be fun. Yes, that would be a dream come true. That'd be really, really fun. And that's what I love about characters with longevity like that, where you can see different versions of them, which is fantastic. I mean, she went from TV to comics and to all different incarnations. Look, she is now. I'm so glad they did that with her because she's funny.
Oh yeah.
Harley.
Make that happen with Primer.
Yeah, that would be great.
Is that how we do it?
What?
Just do that.
I will try.
Yeah, we'll call up Tom. We'll tell him to get started on it right now.
Absolutely.
By the time we're off the episode,
it'll be done.
Yeah, things will be streamlined.
Ready to pitch.
I know.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think because you were kind of talking, Amy, a little bit earlier about things that you're hounded for not seeing. But I was reminded me that I think I'd listened to yours and Jeff's podcast again, and you were saying that you're actually you've worked so much in Star Wars and you've added so much to that universe, but you actually are a bit more of a Star Trek fan.
I am indeed, which is great. I know, like Star Trek was my one of my first loves since I was early, like preteen, like 11, 12, 13. So that's I'm TNG and original series and movies and the like 1 through 6 and 2, 4, and 6. But actually, I love watching one once in a while. I love those 70s and rainbowy, and I kind of once in a blue moon if it's on, I'm like, all right, I'll keep it on. But yes, I am a huge Star Trek, and that would be nice to be in that world sometime in the future. So, and they're doing so much now, so that would be
do that
someday. What?
Why don't you just do that?
I will. Well, I shall try.
I'll call Hollywood. I'll get it happening. There we go.
Right. Thank you. Make that happen, Mr. May.
You're gonna have a lot of work when we're done with this show, apparently.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm a mover and a shaker. That's why I sit on this yoga ball.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. You've been cooped up way too much with puns. Anyway.
So you mentioned 90s X-Men and kind of the J. Scott Campbell stuff. Were there any other more formative comic books or any series that really inspired you to become a writer?
Oh, I mean,
big question there, I know.
Well, I think it's second series X-Men, right?
Yeah, X-Men #1, the Claremont Jim Lee starred Andy Kubert and Fabian Nicieza, I believe.
That had a huge influence on me. And then, of course, Batman the Animated Series at the time, and Warner Brothers was really, it was awesome. And that influenced me inadvertently, even though it's not in the comic medium, like that influenced me very much to do what I do now, especially that show.
I mean, Yeah, you worked at the Warner store, didn't you?
I worked at the Warner Brothers studio store, ironically, back in the 90s, and I used to help sell animation cells
Mm.
and like the voice act. I remember Raw Paulson, like I wasn't there, but like he was at a different store and like doing signings, and I was like, oh my god, he's like Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain and all this.
Raphael.
And it's like now I'm friends with these people, and it's just, and that's not a name drop. I got to remind my 17-year-old self like that those dreams come true, even though they're small things. You're like, it's really amazing how that happens. You start from there and where you end up, and I've told that story before about meeting Alan Burnett, who did Batman the Anime Series, and I worked with him for Justice League Action, so that was dreams come true. So it really does happen. It's very cool.
Yeah, and we have a pretty interesting question, I'd say, over on Facebook. Someone asked, "Do you like characters?" I think it said comic book characters, but characters in general. I think this is for everyone who age through the years, or they're constantly always the same. Like, does that kind of make it more difficult for like people, to write? I mean,
Sliding timeline.
Yeah. I'm like my brain goes to Spider-Man. How Spider-Man's always like the same age, but it's just the environment's constantly changing.
I mean, Spider-Man's interesting because you love Spidey, but they had to create a new title to bring him back to his roots with Ultimate Spider-Man in the early 2000s, because in Amazing Spider-Man Annual 21, he got married, and a lot of people saw that as sort of crux of changing sort of the fabric of Spider-Man. So he did age, if not visibly, then certainly, he adopted the writer's problems, and like, oh, now I have a wife, so I got to write about a wife. Generally speaking, generally characters are kind of frozen in time, minus your Dick Graysons and, your Jason Towns every once in a while. But I like a story where they visit the characters at different times. So like Kingdom Come is
That's a great example. Yeah.
Superman doesn't age in the Superman comics, but you can take a look at Kingdom Come or The Dark Knight Returns, or maybe not The Dark Knight Rises, but The Dark Knight Returns. And you can I like that. Like, I like those what if kind of stories.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you on that one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my brain went to a more recent comic that just came out, which is it was a Chip Zdarsky comic. It was Spider-Man life story, and it's basically him throughout the it's what Spider-Man looks like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and it kind of does address that really on the nose. That I think we don't realize that a lot of these characters, that I was reading when I don't know, I started reading comics when I was like 8. When I was 8, that they like, oh well I grew up, like I don't want to read that same story that I was reading when I was 8, because my brain just, it doesn't want to, it really doesn't want to digest those storylines anymore. So I'm all for aging characters up, like you said. Kingdom Come is a great example. Those Elseworld stories, things like that, like those are great. Like I completely love it.
I think when you age the characters, you give permission for new characters like Primer or like Miss Marvel or Miles Morales to fill in those gaps and tell the story in a modern way. Like, okay, we still have the teenager who's struggling with responsibilities, but we've got it differently. I started reading comics in about 2012, so I was a little late to the game on it in comparison to Paul, but I read around the time that Jamie McKelvey and Kieran Gillen did the Young Avengers. And it's interesting to see that I was kind of a teenager when the Young Avengers were happening, and now the Young Avengers are actually like, we're not young, but we're not Avengers. Like, where the hell do we fit? Because now there's the champions who are the new teenage team. And it's like, I kind of like that, seeing these characters that when I was first introduced, now they're like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I'm not an adult, but I'm not a kid anymore. So I think it's interesting, and it's what allows, I think, for the most progress and creative storytelling, because we don't want to see the same characters in the same incidents over and over and over.
I mean, it's kind of like The Simpsons; they never age, so that works for The Simpsons, but not for a lot of other things. So
What's
Yeah, and actually, we did have a comment on Facebook from Jim Kenny that said Bart Simpson should never age.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, there you go.
I would say it's funny too, because when we talk about the aging of the comics, it's almost exclusively always teenage characters and generally sidekicks that get pushed to what becomes a mentor role. So you see that often. I mean, the best example of that would be, I think, when Grant Morrison turned Dick Grayson into Batman for a little while. So he went from being, Robin to Nightwing to Batman, and he had taken Bruce's kid under his wing in that Batman and Robin comic by Grant Morrison.
Right.
From there, you look at that. It happens a lot. It's happened with Julie Power from Power Pack and a lot of the Teen Titans. It happens in the Bat family a lot, that somebody
Constantly.
new will show up and they kind of pull that in. But it tends to be the teens that do that. And sort of like what the New Warriors were like, and then when the Initiative hit during and after Civil War. So there's a lot to it. It tends to focus more on the teen characters, and then it gives younger characters such as Primer an opportunity to then sort of start out. Or in Marvel, I think Ms. Marvel would be a good example, or a Miles Morales.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, so Jen, I think my brain was working thinking about Primer. Like, would you love to revisit that character at she's, I think you said she's 14, right?
Yeah, 13, yeah.
Or 13.
Mhm.
Would you love to like see that character through
Yes.
high school and college, and what it would look like working for whatever her version of like the Daily Planet is? And
Right. No, I agree. I actually would like that. I always saw her growing, and there's, story points to address all of that. And like, yeah, no, I'd love to see her 16, and then yeah, absolutely, I would love to see her teenage years. So hopefully it does really well, and then we can do that. That would be great. I mean, there's definitely some stories to tell at this age now. There would be a whole bunch of those, but I
Right.
would love to see it through her teenage years, because she would look awesome in cool outfits, and her look tends to tends to change, and it's she has different hair and different. It'd be really cool, and the character lends itself to that. So yes.
Oh, awesome.
on the writerly words type side of that, I also really like the multiple meanings that primer can take on, as in like paint primer, obviously, but like this could be someone's first comic. It could be, and
The
it's
primer,
an
right.
introduction to the character. So it's just there's a lot of potential there. I'm extremely excited for that, but I do appreciate that that
Double-
word can
double-
have many meanings. Yeah.
Double meaning, which is great. No, and
Yeah.
it was a great, it was a great name. We had some preliminary ideas, and did not work out. But this
Gouache and acrylic.
right.
Paint Girl. That seems a little-
Page girl. But yeah, no, it really worked out. As soon as we hit on that, we're like, oh yeah, that's the way. So I hope you guys get to meet Tom at some point, maybe when this comes out in June. Like
Drag them on in June.
yeah, it'd be fun to come back, and also you guys will finally have been able to see it. So I would
Yes.
love your opinions when the time comes, and unless you hate it, then you can just avoid me in the hallways.
No.
Tom is the best. So we should just get him on anyway.
Yeah, he really is, and he's. I mean, if you look at his credits, it's crazy. Like they're a mile long, and he's super talented, and also a huge comic. He's read comics forever, so he has a nice collection of stuff. I'm sure he'd love to talk about, and he always wanted to draw comics
Oh,
when he was a kid. So yeah, he'd be fun to talk about with this stuff. And yeah, this is the closest we'll ever get to a child. So, and what a way to go. It's great. So yes. So the answer is yes.
oh, would love that so
Yeah.
much.
Very exciting.
Awesome.
Well, it's nice to have these, even though right now the state of comics and releases are kind of like, okay, the companies are saying that we're going to have books soon, but some people still can't get to their stores, and it's just kind of in flux. But it's really nice to have something like that to still look forward to and be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, we see what's ahead for comics. They're not going away. They're just waiting for us.
I think so, and I think that there's a lot of positivity in this character, and I think the brightness and the hopefulness and the humor and getting through stuff and the struggle, like it's all in there, and I think it would be a good hopeful time for this comic book to come out. I hope everyone could get their hands on it. I mean, at least, you know, on Barnes and Noble and Amazon, and I think it's going to be in stores. So I don't know if they can pull in, like, just ship them out. I don't know what comic stores are doing these days, you know.
If I can make a suggestion, because I just got mine in the this is the gift certificate that I bought off the phone for my local comic shop, House of Secrets in Burbank. Because comic shops are in such a scary moment there, one way that you can help them out is to call them up and maybe order your stuff and have it mailed to you.
Yes.
Right, that's what I was hoping.
A gift certificate, yeah.
Go pre-order primer.
I'm going to use this to buy. I'm going to use this to buy primer.
Yes.
And good, I hope so. You won't get a free copy from me.
Well, I'm going to steal it from you, I'm sure.
But you know, like, we even went, you know, we were going to do signings in, like, different locations, and it's like, I wonder if there's something we could figure out where, like, get it from a comic book store, have it signed or something. I don't know. It would be nice to have some kind of incentive for comic book stores to, you know, get those sales going. You know,
Right.
you know, and not everything needs to be big box. You know.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Alrighty. Well, I think that about does it for all the, unless Paul has a million more questions that he'll ask off air about primer. But
I'll email them. Yeah.
I think that's kind of the comic book news, and this has been a lovely discussion. Paul did drop the giveaway link, so people who are still watching or just catching up, you can check that out. Don't forget the secret code word that'll get you extra entries to win the C3PO 6 scale figure. Thank you so much, Jen and Jeff, for joining us. This is a fantastic discussion.
Yeah,
This was
it's
super
incredible.
fun.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No.
You're
Anytime.
welcome.
You did such a favor, Mr. Jeff.
You're welcome.
So thanks.
Alrighty. So without further ado, I'm Amy.
I'm Paul.
And this has been the Comics Hall. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.